So first of all, uh, for the CSS, I'm going to create a simple HTML file. Simply introduction.html. Okay, just like that. So let's get started. So what is CSS? The next question is, why do we need to go for CSS? CSS. So let me talk about this one. CSS means, let me abbreviate this. This is cascading style sheets. Now, what is cascading style sheets? Before getting into that particular topic, let me go for this one. Why do we need CSS? So generally speaking, okay, if you go for HTML page, for example, I'm going to take a content, okay, CSS intro, and here what I'm going to do, I want to this is a simple HTML structure, right? Let me open this in a browser. Got it? This is a simple HTML. So generally HTML is used for creating the structure of the page or layout, I can say. Okay, so it, of course, it is not possible to decorate the web page through HTML. Of course, we can do by using some kind of attribute. For example, I want to change the color of the web page. So on this HTML body element, I can use an attribute called bg color. Okay, bg color equal to, let me go for light blue, something like that. Refresh the page. See, I just changed the background of the HTML page by using HTML attribute. So I already told in the demo itself, okay, HTML is meant for a layout of the page, and CSS is meant for style. JS is meant for behavior or dynamic actions on web page. Got it? So what I'm doing here is, generally we know this is HTML page, so we are going to structure the page by using HTML tags, okay, by adding a header tag, a footer tag, okay, child and parent elements, sibling elements, all those things we are going to discuss. So style is not going to be provided through HTML. We will use a new language called CSS, okay. But if you look at this particular code, I'm able to decorate a style or a decoration, I can say decoration. I just decorated my web page with a light blue color, right? I'm able to change the color of this particular HTML page using HTML attribute. So why do we need to go for CSS? If decoration is possible through HTML, why we are going for that? And see, mostly HTML is a markup language. Just use it to marking. Why we are going for markup? In order to structure the data, okay, or structure the web page. It's not going to concentrate on the styling, okay. So let us take an example. If I take a h1 tag, inside this I'm going to place some kind of text, okay. I got a text now. Now if you want to align this, align center, you can use an attribute called align center. It will come to the center. That's nice. This is also comes under the structuring. Okay, now I want to what you can call change the color of this heading tag. So can I use this one now? BG color equal to, I'm going to place this to be complete black. at least I go for maroon, or let me take a simple color, red color. Okay, I just added a style, BG color of red to this H1 tag. See, are you able to apply this? No. So that means the HTML attributes, the style attributes, like this is one style attribute. BG color. Color is an one decoration attribute or style attribute. What other thing you can say? Okay, you're not going to apply these kind of attributes to all the elements, all the HTML elements. Those are restricted. So you can apply to body element, but you're not able to apply to H1. Let us go for any other thing. Let us suppose paragraph. I'm going to take some paragraph, and I want to decorate this with a different color, BG color. Let me check it out. It's not going to apply. So I want to make this to be green. Will it happens? No, it's not happening. Let me take a table element. Okay, inside this you can place some color. I just want to make some width to be 300 pixels, height to be, oops, GIGST, height is equal to 200 pixels, and I'm going to apply BG color to be pink or red. Let's talk about this one. See, I'm able to apply a table now. I'm able to apply the BG color to the table. So it is very difficult to remember what kind of style tags that are going to be applied to different types of tags on your HTML element. Okay, the first one is it's the HTML elements attributes or style attributes are not going to apply all the elements. If it's so, it is very difficult to remember, right? So we need to remember what kind of color is going to apply to the H1 element, or what kind of BG color, or what kind of style is going to apply for the body of the HTML page. Okay, so that is one reason. Okay, so that is why the people have from the organization called W3C, World Wide Web Consortium, they have developed a new language called Cascading style sheets in order to decorate the web page. Okay, so style sheet is a language. It is a language used to decorate web page. So what kind of decoration that you can find? Okay, so it's not possible uh, different HTML based attribute for styling the web pages. Okay, web pages. So, cascading style sheet means it's a language which is used to decorate the web page. And one of the important thing is we are going to write our web page out. That means we are isolating. If you understand, we are using HTML as a separate language to structure the page, and CSS as a separate language for decorating. So there is some kind of isolation, right? There is some kind of separation. So if you look at this kind of code, okay, you can easily understand this is a HTML code. And if you look at some kind of CSS code, you can understand, okay, this is a CSS and it is used for styling the document. So you are going to separating the layout as well as the style from the same web page. Okay, so it is very easy to manipulate and it's very easy to construct your web pages by using two different languages instead of one. Okay, so most of the thing we follow a software rule called divide and conquer. I think, or I think, okay, divide and conquer. So we are going to divide our task. See, we need to create our web pages or web applications. So how do I start web applications? First, you need to lay out. Then you need to decorate it. So these kind of tasks, division of tasks, will make things easy, and you can manage easily. Okay, so that is why we are going for cascading style sheets, which is used to decorate your web page. So remember, by using HTML attributes, it's not possible to decorate all the HTML elements on your web page. So that is why we are going for CSS style, CSS cascading style sheets. Okay, one second. Okay, so that is why we are going for CSS. Okay, now what is the syntax for applying the styles on your web page using CSS? Okay, this HTML elements. I want to know about the syntax. And first one is, while writing the CSS, first you have to go for something like what we can call selector. Okay, there should be a selector. Okay, after that use some curly braces. Inside this you can write set of style attributes, style properties. So each style property comes with name and value. Okay, key value pair I can say. So you can see, for example, name colon value, or what in style property I can say property value. I can say like this. So this is a kind of syntax we are going to use to style your HTML elements on your web pages. Something like this. So use semicolon to separate each and every style like this. You can write multiple styles by using this one. Now what is the selector? So selector is nothing but is a way of selecting HTML element in your CSS language. See, what I'm saying is we are in CSS language. This is CSS. This is HTML. I want to decorate the heading tag. Okay, this is heading H1. How do I decorate this one? I want to change the color of this heading tag using CSS. Now you are in CSS. You need to access the H1 in HTML, right? The way we are going to select a particular item using CSS is called selection or selector. So how in what way you are going to access the H1 in CSS? There are different ways are there. Okay, in which way you are going to access, that is what is called selection or selector. Okay, you need to write the selector here. So let me try. Selector means it is the way to select a particular element inside HTML. Okay, now how you are going to select a particular element? What are the different ways? Okay, so basically there are three different ways. Okay, first one, using tag name, using class name, class name attribute. Okay, using ID. These are the basic three ways. Of course, we can write in a multiple ways. Okay, to access a particular element. See, for suppose if you want to go to your friend's house, what do? You can find a different ways, plenty of ways, right? So in the same way, if you want to access a particular element inside your HTML using CSS, you have a different kinds or different ways you have in CSS to access a particular element in HTML. After those, the most basic ways are three. One is tag name, class name attribute, ID attribute. Now let me write this one. Before going to writing a simple selector, I want to create an example for this. See, I'm going to use a tag name selector. Okay, let us take an example. So what is the, I want to access the H1 now. What is the tag name of H1? H1 is H1 only. So now this will become the selector. That means through CSS, I selected H1 element inside your HTML page. Got it? And open some curly braces and write some properties, the H1 properties. See, every tag in HTML has plenty of properties are there. Every tag I can say, if it is an image tag, video tag, text tag, graphic tag, whatever the tag you take, okay, every tag has plenty of properties are there. So for example, if you take H1, H1 holds some text content, right? What kind of styles that you apply for a text content? You can apply size of the text content. You can change the color of the text content. You can change the background of the text content. You can change the what do you call? You can stretch the text content. You can underline it. You have plenty of properties are there. Okay, so let me write one or two properties here. So first, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use a simple property called color. I want to give some white color to this H1 tag. So the text will be in white color. And remember, always it should be terminated with semicolon. Next one is background color. The property, you need to remember these kind of properties. And don't worry, while you're practicing, all these kind of properties will be hands-on on your, what do you call, will be hands-on for your applications. Don't worry, no need to remember. Do practice on these things. Also, automatically you'll get on these things as a hands-on or fingertips. Okay, so background color, you can use background color on, let's take a blue or light gray, light blue, something like this. I just applied some two colors for this one, H1 tag. Okay, now where do I apply this selector inside the HTML page? Where do I apply my CSS code in the HTML page? Okay, so for this, And by the way, one more shortcut I want to place here. If you want to push this particular selected content towards right, you can use tab. This is called tab indentation. One tab space, you are going to separate all this text content. If you want to bring it to the left side, hold shift and press tab. So that at the same time, you are going to what you call move the content both in right and left direction using a shift tab and tab. Hope you understand this one. Now, where do I place? Okay. Uh, how do I place CSS content? Or how do I apply CSS code to HTML? Okay. So for this question, I have three ways. Okay. Three ways are there. First one, inline styling. Second one, internal styling. Third one, external styling. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I just want to apply this h1 tag with this kind of style to the h1 tag. Let me take h1 tag now. H1. It has a heading tag is there. Nothing is there. We have the heading, and I want to bring this to the center. So I have a style attribute in HTML. By using this, you can apply the CSS code to the HTML. So you can write a style tag like this: style attribute, style equal to quotations. What do you want to change? The color of the text. Or first of all, let me change the background color. Background color. Colon light blue. No need to place any quotations for these things. And I told you already, every property inside CSS should terminate with semicolon. Okay, color white. This is the text color I'm going to change. So this is called, you are applying a CSS style inline to this particular H1. That is why it is referred as the inline styling. See, I just applied style to the heading tag. Got it? That's nice. So if you want to change in a different color, you can make use of some other different ways. I will explain all these different ways and different properties later on. Okay, I just used a random number to get this color. Okay, so don't worry about that. So we are I'm using inline styling. That means writing your CSS style inline to your HTML elements. But the problem with the inline elements is the first problem I can write here. Let me define some pros and cons. Pros, cons. Okay. Advantage is okay, high priority. It will give high priority. So while applying CSS styling through different ways, inline styling is the highest priority. Okay, I'll explain that one later. Okay, that is one of the important reason. But it has a lot of disadvantages are there. Both it's not possible to write larger code, CSS code inside HTML element. Got it? So see how many lines of or how many properties that I can add for H1 if you have such kind of syntax. It's not good to see like that, right? So if I have 10 properties, how do I write 10 properties over here? So you are only this page contains only one simple text, right? One simple h1 tag is there. Generally, when we get into the real time, you will find something like millions of lines will be there. Okay, thousands of files, millions of lines will be there. So how you are going to differentiate? Okay, so it is very difficult to manage. Okay, uh, messing. Sorry, both HTML and CSS code get messed up. Difficult to manage, right? So if you are trying to write both CSS and HTML, it is very difficult to manage. So need isolation or no isolation. I can say no isolation or no separation. So for this purpose, I'm going for internal styling. Internal styling is nothing but you can add the CSS style, the same code I'm going to add in different way. See, I'm using a style tag inside head section, not inside the body section. Okay, type style and press tab. So it will auto complete the remaining thing. It is saying that it is a CSS style. In between these tags, you can write your what do you call styles here, h1 styles here. So the selector is h1. So this is pure CSS. In this, you are going to mess up your CSS properties with style attribute, right? But in this case, you can see pure CSS code. So I just used a selector name that is called h1. Inside this, I'm going to write these two properties. So here, instead of this, I can go for yellow and refresh the page. I'm not applying yellow. Yellow is not applying. Why? I told you already it has highest priority than remaining styling techniques. So just remove this and watch it out. I just removed the internal inline styling. Now I'm applying internal styling alone. See, I got my text with yellow color. Got it? So here you are going to isolate your CSS code from your HTML page. So it is somewhat easy to manage. Okay. Why? Because it's not pure isolation. Partial isolation. Okay. Um, I can say, but still difficult to manage larger code. See, if CSS itself has 1,000 lines and HTML has another 1,000 lines, okay. So placing, so if you want to watch out the HTML code, you have to navigate 1,000 lines down, right? So that is very difficult when we write both the CSS and HTML in the same page. So we need pure isolation. That is why we are going for external styling. Okay, browse pure or complete isolation. I can say complete isolation from HTML. Cons is less priority. Of course, both internal and external styling has the same priority. I'll talk about the priority later on. But if you write internal styling, inline styling, then uh, external styling won't find a way to place their code. Okay, got it. So that is why we are going for external styling. Now let me write an external styling here. So what I'm going to do, I just taken a HTML folder inside this CSS workspace. At the same time, I'm going to create one more folder. I'm going to name it as a simple CSS. So all my HTML pages I'm going to place here or otherwise. I'll do one thing. I just want to remove this. As I close this, I don't want HTML. What I'm going to do, take this one and place it inside and remove HTML. Okay, and yeah, so I always place my HTML code outside of the CSS folder and all CSS code inside this CSS folder. That is called external styling. So what I'm going to do, in order to create external styling, you have to create a new file externally, a separate file with the name or extension .css like this. Got it? This is external styling. External styling. So for in order to write external styling, you need to place a separate file. So I just want to place a link tag. See, this is an external files, right? When you are going to link out to external files, either you have to use an anchor tag. Okay, we have seen already. Or so anchor tag is used to display other page on your HTML document, right? So when I click on that link, when the user click on that any kind of link on the web page, it will open that particular web page, right? But link is used to just it will link the documents, not to display. Okay, so that is why you can place a link tag inside your head section of the HTML page, and you need to place an attribute called relation, that is style sheet, type text or CSS, and you need to provide the link to that particular uh, document. Now, where is my document? CSS document. It is inside CSS, right? So inside CSS, I'm going to place CSS intro.css. Got it? And, and refresh the page. Unable to file. Okay, that's my problem. My problem. What is that? Close this one. Close this one. First of all, open this. Let me open this in browser. Now you can see that. Let me see whether the styles. I haven't applied any styles. Now I'm going to write the same style here. H1 background style. Background color I want. It will be maroon. Color white. So let me check. Is it applying or not? It's not applying. Why? I told you already. Both internal and external styling has the same priority. There is no much difference. But why I'm not applying? The reason is the order of applying the styles. Order of applying styles. Uh, what I can say plays an important role. Oh, it's not good way to express this. Order of applying styles will matter. Okay, something like that. So what I'm trying to say is you just applied an external styling through external file and you applied internal styling through style tag. Okay, when you look into the web page, you can find the internal styling. Why? Because the last apply style will override the same styles that are there in the previous styles. See, what I'm trying to say is here we are using h1 tag. In the external page also we are using h1 tag. Here we are using background color and color property. Here also we are going to use background color property of the h1 tag. So what is happening? What will happen is first whatever the styles that are there inside this link or inside this particular file, that will be applied to your HTML element. After that, it will apply whatever the styles that are there, that will be applied. And or if it is already existed, some styles existed through a previous file, okay, that will be overwritten by this new style. Got it? Now let me change the order by placing this one. Now refresh the page. Now you can see you got a maroon and white color of text. Maroon background, white color of text. So order matters here. Very important. One advantage of CSS is you can create multiple style sheets. I have taken CSS intro 1.css. You can link this style. Now I'm going to apply something, a style called align or text align. There is a text align center. This is one kind of property. Don't worry, I will explain all these kind of properties later on. Just for the time being, I'm going to use this text align. That means it is going to align the text content of the H1 to the center. So this is a new property, right? These are some other properties. If you want to add, you can add this one. Take another link and place this to here, introduction 1, and refresh the page. See, it came to the center. Got it? So, uh, see, you can place multiple CSS file and you can cascade them. Cascading means placing one after them, one after each other. So what will happen is when the browser is trying to execute your HTML page, or it will navigate to the HTML page like this from starting, from top to bottom, it will navigate. So first, it will this link document was occurred. Later, it was occurred. So based on the order we have placed, okay, based on the order, the all the styles will be applied, and you can place multiple link documents or multiple CSS styles using link tag. So this is what is called cascading. Okay, this is what is called cascading. Okay, that is about a simple introduction to uh, CSS. Let me check this out. So we have seen all this type of things. And by the way, one important thing, while writing your CSS property, I told you already there is a property and it has its own value. In this example, selector is H1, property is color, value is red. Okay, and by the way, the value can be integer values, or the value can be some values like this, 20 pixels, something like this. So when you are going to write a value which is mixed up with numbers as well as strings, don't place any space. Okay, it will be misinterpreted. It will not work. So you have to place like this, 20px. Don't leave spaces between the property and the value. Property value and the units. Sorry. You can place multiple style sheets and you can cascade them. Cascade means you can connect it by using a link document. Okay. And by the way, you need to understand, I explained the order, right? The first browser has some predefined or default nature of styling to your HTML elements. Browser has, it has some kind or predefined, or I can say some. Now you can see when I write a paragraph inside the document, when I write a paragraph tag, See, how does this paragraph knows about of 12 pixels? Why this? See, this paragraph comes with the 12 pixels and it comes with the Times New Roman font. Okay, and you don't have any indentation. You have some space here. Okay, how does this paragraph know about this kind of style? Okay, this is a predefined style inside your HTML page. So by default, it has 16 pixels of font size for the paragraph, and it will use Times New Roman, something like that. Okay, those are called browser default. That can be overwritten by using external or internal style sheets in the head section. If you go for inline styling in the HTML body section, okay, it has the highest priority. The priority goes like this. And by the way, I told you these two things have the same priority. Okay, so always remember that one. Okay, the next one is let us talk about the selectors now. Okay, what is that? I want to talk about selectors. Let me create insert this selectors.html. I'm going to create a new file called selectors.css. Let's talk about selectors. In what different ways that you can apply a selector in your HTML page. Okay, here I have written a different ways of selectors are there. Now let me write it down here. Just I want to link this document by using a link. Okay, css/selectors.css. So here, what you can do, I told you, selector is the way to access the HTML element inside CSS during applying styles. Okay, so you can have something a selector like what you can. We have some. I just categorized selectors like basic selectors. Okay, advanced selectors, selectors. Okay, what we have. Sorry, advanced selectors. Not advanced selectors. Let me make it as a combinators. I'm going to make this as combinators. Okay, pseudo classes, pseudo classes, pseudo elements, pseudo classes and pseudo elements. There are four categories are there. So inside this basic selectors, you can find tag name selector, class name selector, ID selector, universal selector, um, attribute selector, ID selector, like this. We have five types for that. I'll talk about the combinators later on. First, let's talk about that. I just want to take two H1 elements here. Sorry, two elements inside the HTML page. One is heading, second one is paragraph. Okay. So what I'm going to do, H1 I have taken inside this tag name. Now this is what is called tag name selector. This is tag name selector. And by the way, in CSS it is not possible to use a single line comment. You can create a multi-line comment by using these symbols. The symbols are this is slash slash, inside in between that you have to use. This is a multi-line comment. It is not possible to play a single line comment. So what I'm going to do, take this out, place it like this. So tag name selector. So the selector will be a tag name. So I'm going to select H1 through its name only. That is called tag name selector. You already seen about this, right? So I just wanna apply some background color as well. For this, I'm going to apply some background color, maroon, I think maroon. Okay. And by the way, in Sublime Text Editor, or each, if it is a valid property, the color will change. Okay, otherwise it won't change property value. And color white, something like this. Let me open this one. Whether yeah, I'm able to change this one. Unfortunately, if you for the time being, if you uh, if you not place a correct file name or any missing a file, will not apply your styles on your HTML page. At that time, you need to check for the errors. See, I got an error like while applying the CSS, I got an error like failed to load resource. What is the resource here? CSS file. Some file not found. Okay, why? Because you haven't provided the valid file name here. That might be a one reason. Okay, so while applying external documents, you keep check on your console window and the debugging window. Okay, always whether that means if you are not able to see the styles, then first look at this kind of error whether it's existing or not. Okay, see, I'm applying the styles. That is one reason why we are not applying CSS on your document. So always check out the link document or link tag. I want to make this element to be center, so I'm going to use something like text align center. It will make the text to be center. That's nice, right? Right. So this is one way of writing the styles. The other way of writing the styles is class name selectors. Okay. So generally tag name will what do you call? Using this, you can apply styles style to similar elements of the web page. See, what I'm saying is, for example, if your HTML has multiple H1 tags or multiple H2 or multiple P tags, paragraph tags, okay? So if you apply your style to one paragraph means through paragraph tag name, it will apply all the paragraphs, right? Why? Because tag name is similar to all the paragraph. So here I'm going to apply some styles to this particular paragraph by using some kind of background color, light blue. Okay, and after this I want to place one H2 instead of H1. I'm going to do something like that. Now refresh the page. See, both these paragraphs are applied with same color. Why? Because inside HTML you have two paragraphs with the same paragraph tag name, right? Only one tag name is similar, right? So that is why if you apply if you apply styles to tag name, that will apply to all the similar elements of your web page. Okay, so similar elements can be uh, or the styles will be applied to similar elements using tag name. So whereas coming to the class name selector, you can group up different elements. Okay, you can group up different. You can group up and apply styles to different elements. So, for example, I want to group up this particular H1. H1 is different, H2 is different, right? So, if you want to group up these two, I'm going to apply something. I'm using a class attribute like this class. What I can do, my group, something like this. I just given a name, and I'm going to apply the same group to the paragraph, not to H2. So using tag class name selector, a class attribute in CSS can be accessed by using a dot property. Dot, what is the class name? My group, right? CRP, and use. Now this is a class name. Always a class name should be started with a dot in CSS. It is the representation of the class name. Now this is the selector, right? I'm going to apply some styles to it. What style I can apply for this? Let's change the text color. I'm going to apply this text color to be red. See, you can find red color for H1 and paragraph. Even though H1 and paragraph nowhere related, but still you are going to group up these two things and you're going to apply your own styles to it by using class name. Got it? So by using class name, you can group up different kinds of elements, and you can apply the same styles to it. The next one is ID selector. Okay, ID is unique, right? Using this, you can apply style to single element. See why? Because no two IDs to look like same. Okay, so ID itself indicating that it's a unique one, right? ID is a unique. So don't. One thing you need to remember: don't create two separate IDs. Two IDs with same name. Okay, so if you want to change the heading of this particular thing, I'm going to use id is equal to, or I want to apply some kind of text, or what do you call, style to this particular paragraph. uh, I'm going to take this as a para. Yeah. So I want to change the look and feel of that paragraph. Okay, uh, id attribute selector, unique selector. ID can be accessed in HTML using hash. Okay, ID name can be written like this, hash para. Okay, and I want to change the background for this background color to be magenta. Let's type. Let's see. This magenta will apply to this particular thing. Got it? So these are the three different ways, basic ways you can write. And by the way, you can access. For example, I want to make these elements to be center. So align center. This one on an introduction as well. Now let's see. Both are center, right? So I want to select these two elements. I don't want to place any kind of new class name for this particular H2. I don't want to place any ID for the H2, H1. Okay, I don't want to add any new attribute to your elements, but still I want to apply similar styles to H1 and H2. Okay, without adding any new attribute like this to H1 and H1 and H2, I want to change the background color. So what is the similar thing that you can find inside these things? This one and this one. Similar is attribute name, right? Attribute name is same. So you can select those kind of elements or attribute selector. Okay, will apply styles to similar attributed elements. So if you want to write an attribute, you have to use a square braces like this, and inside that you place your attribute name, okay, and start your curly braces. And I want to apply a background color to be uh, pink. Let's take the pink. See, H1 and H2. Why? Because both having same attribute name. By using that, you are going to filter those elements and you are going to group up those elements, right? So this is attribute selectors. And the last but not least, we have something called it's not ID selector, it's a universal selector. Universal selector. Okay, so by default, it was universal selector means it, by using that you can apply the same style to all the elements of your HTML page. For example, in this case, okay, what I'm going to do, I want to change behavior of your web page. The look of the web page. If you see, there is some gap in between heading and paragraph. Okay, so I want to now you can see there is a gap you can find in between H1 tag and a paragraph. Okay, so let's take this one. Uh, I want to see when you look into the H1 tag, there is a space is provided by the browser. Okay, that is the default nature of the browser provided for the H1. When I click on this element inside your HTML element and just go to the styles right side, you can find. So you can find there is a gap, 21.44 pixels of space is there. We call that space as a margin. Okay, I want to remove that margin for all H2, H1 and paragraph. Okay, so I want to remove that. Even though you can see if you look at the paragraph itself, you can find same space. Of course, it is 16 pixels. For H2, it will be different, something like that. So I want to remove all those things. Now let us see what happens. If you want to remove such space to all the elements, you can use universal selector. Universal selector, that is star. Star is a universal selector. By using this, you can select all the HTML elements. Okay, so I can make use of margin. Margin is one kind of CSS property. I'm going to make it as a 0 pixels, the space around the element. Margin is nothing but the space around the element. Okay, I just nullified it, 0, by using a star. Star is a universal selector, so that will apply to all the elements. See, all the space around each and every element got nullified, 0 pixels. Okay, so we can make use of star as a universal selector in order to apply the same style to all the elements. This kind of thing you will find. See, every browser has different kinds of default nature, right? Every browser, what I can say, a Chrome, a Firefox, an Internet Explorer, IE, Safari, all these browsers having their own different styles for their own elements, right? So when you are going to create your application using web technologies, you should start with the same base or same default nature. Okay, see, in Chrome, the space is around 16 pixels, assume, for each and every element. Whereas in the Firefox, it will be 24 pixels. So you designed your application for the Chrome. Okay, that may look differently in Firefox. Why? Because the default spaces will be different. Not only spaces, what are the default properties that is there for each and every element for the HTML. You can see those kind of things when you press F12, the default styles. When you go to the elements, see computed styles. These are the default styles of HTML elements for HTML. Each and every tag you can find a body section of H1 tag. See, these are the default nature. Of course, some of these we edited, right? Okay, just go for this one. So if you want to start your application from a same base or same default nature to all the elements, okay, it might be a Firefox, a Chrome, or IE. You want to start with your own default nature. Those defaults will be written inside this universal selectors. So before going to launch your application, these universal selector will apply some common default styles to all the elements, okay, to your application, so that it will be the default. What are the defaults you are going to write? So it's not going to depend on browser defaults. Browser defaults will be changed by using this star. So you can start a same default nature of your styles. That is what we can call such kind of thing, are making your own defaults styles to your all the elements of your HTML elements or HTML page. That is called normalizing. Okay, we call it as a normalizing. You can apply a universal selector for normalize your browser defaults. Got it? Browser defaults. So for example, what I can do, you can go for normalize dot css. When you go for, there is a oh, sorry, it won't be there here, should be here. My Chrome is not working. I don't know what the problem is. I just open a normalized .css. This is some kind of CSS file written by some people like Nicholas. Okay, just go for this. If you want your own CSS, normalized CSS, you can write it out. Otherwise, you can go for this. Okay, some kind of normalization has been created for this. So it will be the default for all the browsers when you load this file as a base to your application. Where are those? Our normalize.css. Where is that? Do you find that? Yeah. I can see for HTML, the line height, some of the properties got edited. For body section, the margin is 0. Article, aside, footer, header, navigation bar, and section all are displayed as a block level. H1 has different styles. Figure caption, figure main has different. These are different styles that was created by one people. That is, I think it's Nicholas. Okay. So by using this, you can normalize your web browser, or you can normalize your application before you're going to launch your application in any browser. Okay. So it will reset all the browser defaults. Okay. That is about the normalization. So that is why we are going for universal selector.